Welcome everyone to today's corporate Gita class. We'll continue from where we had stopped. That is 3.26 we had done, and third chapter 27 is where we'll continue. So in this third chapter, Arjuna had this question that he didn't want to fight the war. The reason was that the results of the war are very, very terrible. They are ghastly, and in this war, his own family members were going to get killed, especially his grandfather and teacher, and his cousins and his uncles, his own children. Everyone was present in the war, and so many people would die. So he was thinking that the result is not pleasing. The result is not very desirable. It's a very terrible result. So in the second chapter, Krishna says, "Be away from abominable acts." So Arjuna thinks that, oh, okay, this fighting is an abominable act because the result is very terrible. The result is ghastly. The result is too much of bloodshed. So it is abominable. So he then and then Krishna again says, for duty you have to fight. Now Krishna is saying two things: keep it away because it's abominable, and then fight it. So what is the right thing to do? So that's how the third chapter starts. That Arjuna asks this: you're telling me to keep abominable activities away, and I'm thinking this war is an abominable activity because the result is very ghastly. It's a lot of bloodshed involved in it. And at the same time, you're telling me I should perform my duty and fight in this war. Can you please clarify what is it? And then in the process, Krishna explains that we have to perform duty. Why? Because if we perform our duty, um, then that particular reaction is not applied to us. And he goes on to explain about Nishkam Karma Yoga. He says people perform duty because they get something out of it. The higher than that is to perform duty out of you know uh, out of selflessness. Basically, out of a sake of duty, where you may not think more about the result, and you will just perform it because it is your duty or responsibility. Like, a person may save somebody, and that person got saved may offer some gift, but then the police who saved him will say that no, it is my duty, I don't need the gift. So out of sake of duty one will perform, not for the sake of any remuneration or anything out of it. So that is the Nishkam Karma Yoga, where one has to perform his duty, but he's not so much attached of not doing the duty if the fruit doesn't come. And if the fruit comes, or the fruit of the work comes, he will accept it. It's not he's going to reject or something, but he's not so much keen on it that he has to get, then only he will do. Not that kind of mentality, but a mentality of this is my duty, it is my responsibility. So on that perspective, Arjuna, you do this, and then the fruit that comes out of it, you offer it to the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Why? Because then the reactions don't apply to you. Just like a soldier, he may kill many people in the battlefield, but the killing is not a crime for that soldier because he is doing it under the authority of the king, under the authority of the government, right? So same way, if you do it for the sake of Vishnu, then these reactions don't come. And we have to do those activities which are specified in the Vedas, and they are according to the Vedas, that these are the right activities to be done. It should be done according to dharma. Dharma means truth, honesty, religiosity. It means all of that. So it should affirm to all these things, and then you offer the fruit to Vishnu, and then you won't get any reaction out of it. So Arjuna was very much worried of the reaction, right? I will kill so many people. My hands will be, tainted with blood of killing my own family members. But Krishna says, no, if you do it, perform it as a duty, then all these things don't apply to you. So, in this regard, now he comes to this point where he says that our identity, um, let me show you. In the second chapter, Krishna says our identity is not the external body. Our identity is something which is inside the body, which is the spiritual spark, which is called Atma. So that is our real identity. So what happens to the body? The body is just a machine. And the Atma is using this machine to perform a particular work. And it takes permission from the Paramatma, that is the super soul, which is sitting beside next to him in the heart. So this is how our functioning is there. That our real identity is not the external body. External body is just like clothes. You change every day. Similarly, at the time of death, one will take another body. So our real identity is the soul. So what is good for the soul, think that. And therefore, one's activity should be offered to Vishnu, because then the soul is not affected by the reactions of it. Hmm? And then he explains, like, in what consciousness one should perform this duty. And this is what is our today's verse. If there are any questions, any comments, you can interrupt me anytime or type in the chat or just speak up. No problem. Prakrite kriyamanani guna karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. Now, this is a very important concept, and it can be very confusing also. So, the spirit soul, bewildered by influence of false ego, thinks himself to be the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. So, what effectively Krishna is saying, you should not think you are the doer of the activity, and they have been carried out by the three modes of material nature. So, does that mean that we are the doer or not the doer? So, we have to go back to this particular diagram and understand the function of the body. The body is just a machine, right? It's just like a car or excavator, or you know, um, it is like a machine. Who is driving the machine? The soul is driving the machine, and the machine belongs to the Supreme Lord. Right now, it is owned by the soul, but it's temporary. At the time of death, that machine, that body has to be given up, right? So, so the soul is using it, right? He's using this machine, this body, to perform a work. So technically, who can say that who performed that work? Hmm? I took this example of excavator. Yeah. So if I ask you this question, this excavator is digging, and this person, this driver is worker is digging using the excavator. So who did the actual digging? If I ask you this question, what is your answer? Whom would you assign this, like, oh, he did it, or the machine did it, or someone else did it? Whom do you think?
The person he made to do the machine in such a way.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And he did it under the order of the company.
Hmm.
Just like, anybody cannot dig anywhere, right? There has to be a particular order, authorized order.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So that is the actual understanding. So, yeah, the last time we discussed this point here, that the primary donor is the construction company. Okay, because it actually owns that work. It is making the secondary doer, that is the worker, to do that work. And the tertiary doer is the excavator, which is just a machine. So the worker used the excavator to dig the machine on the order of construction company. That is the real understanding. Similarly, the soul uses the body with the permission of the super soul to do any work. Okay, so he needs a permission and he needs a body. So therefore the real understanding is that the soul is a secondary doer. It is not the sole doer. See, there is some concept called a sole doer. So it is not a sole doer, it is a secondary doer because it needs the help of something else to perform that work. Hmm? So this is what it means when Krishna says you are not the doer. Okay, you need somebody else's help to do it. Another way to understand is carpenter. Now carpenter builds furniture, right? After building the furniture, does the carpenter says this belongs to me? Now I build this nice chair or something. I think I took some pictures. Let me check. Mm, did I delete it? Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. Here. The carpenter, creates this cupboard and chair. Can he say this thing now belongs to me? No, right? You call the carpenter to make a furniture for your home. So the carpenter is paid only for his work, not for the actual object. The object now belongs to the owner, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So in that sense, we have to understand who is the real doer, to whom things belong. Okay. So Krishna is going in that direction. We need to understand to whom things belong and what is our role within that framework. Our role is not the sole doer, but the role is of a secondary doer. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the concept, and Krishna is going to build up this thing, and he's going to say, um, he's going to say a few other things here, but ultimately he's going to say this. Oh Arjuna, surrendering all your works onto me with full knowledge of me, without desire for profit, with no claims of proprietorship, and free from lethargic fight. So, how to perform a work? This is how we need to perform a work without desire for profit. Profit means the fruit. With the focus of the fruit should not be the only focus of the fruit. Okay, I mean any work, it should not be done just for the fruit. Okay, that is one thing that we discussed. Nishkam karma. Second thing is, because I'm the secondary doer, I cannot claim the proprietorship of what I've done. I mean, completely, I did it. And third thing is, I cannot be lazy in performing my duty. Lethargy. I cannot be that. So three things are required. So this is a instruction for us also. How we need to perform our work, our duty in our daily life. First thing is the result we should not be so much attached to. Then we should not claim proprietorship over things. And we should be free from lethargy. Lethargy means laziness or avoidance, or because this duty is very difficult, I won't do it. That kind of mentality. So Krishna is building upon all these three concepts that he's going to speak in 30th verse. So let's get into 27th verse. So here he explains that um, here he explains that within our heart there is super soul, and then there is soul. Okay. So two persons, one in Krishna consciousness and other in material consciousness, working on the same level, may appear to be working on the same platform, but there is a wide gulf of difference in their respective position. A person in material consciousness is convinced by false ego that he is the doer of everything. He thinks I did everything. See, that's why great souls, they say, if they perform any work, they say, I did it by the blessing or the mercy of God. Right? That is the reason why they say. Because in reality, when we were babies, right, we were not able to even walk or talk. Right? Today we can walk and talk and do so many activities, but in reality, when we were born, we didn't have the ability. The ability came to us. And when we die, when we become old, this ability will be taken away from us. So, can we really claim something? No, we cannot claim something. So, we have to acknowledge that this ability is given to us and then it will be taken back. Like, somebody becoming a prime minister. For 5 years, he can be prime minister and he can play that role. And then after that, he has to give up that position. And he cannot say, I am the eternal prime minister of India or something. No. Only for that much period, he can claim some things. But after that, he cannot claim anything out of it. He can just say, okay, this is history. I did it. Now, a prime minister runs the whole country, right? Does it by his own powers? No. He has delegated a lot of work to departments and government officials, right? So he need to acknowledge that if I achieved something in life, or I achieved something, some duty, some work that we have achieved, it is through the help of all this big governmental body where there's so many people involved. So that's why they have to acknowledge that. Otherwise, what happens is people in material consciousness think that I am the doer of everything. I did it. He takes the full responsibility. But he should acknowledge that it was done with the help of others. Same way, even the soul has to think like that, because the soul is using this body which is given to him. He does not know the mechanism of the material body that is, sorry, he does not know the mechanism of the body produced by the material nature. He works under the supervision of the Supreme Lord. So, first thing, he needs permission from the Supreme Lord to use the body. And he forgets that. Just like, excavator may dig anywhere and create mess. So, first he needs to understand first he needs to take permission of the construction company, right? That, okay, where I need to dig, which location and all that, how much, how deep. So similarly, the soul is also needs to be under the supervision of the Supreme Lord. And it is. But one needs to understand. A materialistic person has no knowledge that ultimately is under the control of Krishna. See, we are under somebody's control, right? Ultimately, we are under God's control. So that we need to acknowledge. The person in full false ego takes all credit for doing everything independently. We are not independent. That is the understanding. We are not independent. And that is a symptom of nations. He does not know that his gross and subtle body is a creation of the material nature under the order of the Supreme Person of Godhead, and as such, his bodily and mental activity should be engaged in the service of Krishna in Krishna consciousness. Just like the excavator should be used in the service of the construction company, similarly, this body should be used by the soul in the service of who gave the body, that is Krishna, that is God Himself. He only gave, so we have to use it in His service. But we become ignorant and then we use it for our purpose and we create a ton of karma that affects us. The ignorant forget that the Supreme Person of Godhead is known as Rishikesh, or master of the senses of the material body, for due to his long misuse. So we misuse of our body, for sense gratification. He is factually bewildered by false ego, which makes him forget his eternal relationship with Krishna. So, does this help understanding? What does this mean? We are not the doer.
Yes, yes, Guru.
Okay, okay.
What is this Rishikesha? Can you repeat it?
Rishikesha is the another name of Krishna, which means
Okay.
he is the controller of all.
Supreme God. Okay.
Rishikesh means control of all senses.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Okay, this concept I'll explain. That
Hmm.
when it is put on the name of Krishna, right, it means something else. See, someone can have his name Rishikesh.
Hmm.
Okay, but when Krishna is named Rishikesh, what it exactly means is a little different.
Okay.
So let's say, we have control of our own senses,
Hmm.
right?
Yes, yes.
Now, for Krishna, he has control of his senses and all the senses that are there in the whole universe, of every, in each and every person who is present, every animal who is present.
Okay.
So he is the master of all senses. This is what it means by Rishikesh.
Okay.
Yeah. So next verse we'll go into तत्ववित्तु महाबाहो गुण कर्म विभागयो गुण गुणेषु वर्तन्ते इति मत्वा न सज्जते. One who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, O mighty arm, does not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification. So one should not use the excavator for his own purpose. One should use it for construction purpose given by the construction company. Similarly, we should not use our senses for sense gratification. Sense gratification means unlimited, unrestricted enjoyment. That is not the main use of that. Knowing well the difference between work and devotion and work for fruitive results. If we use it for our purpose, it is work for fruitive results. So then, all the reactions that come with it, we have to face the consequence. We have to face the consequence. But when we work for Krishna, then it is work in devotion. Like the soldier fighting in the battlefield. He uses the gun, kills the enemy soldiers, but he is not entitled for criminal killing, right? Indeed, he is given some Paramveer Chakra award. But if the same person uses the weapon to kill his neighbor, say the soldier comes back and he has a fight with the neighbor, and now he kills the neighbor with the same gun that he had. What do you think the government will do? Will the government give him another Paramveer Chakra? No, right? The government say, "Oh, this you did for your own selfish purpose." So this is what is called as fruitive results. For fruitive results, we have to be responsible for the reactions that come. But when we dovetail our work to Krishna, then it is work in devotion and there is no reaction. This is a very important concept. Okay. So the knower of the absolute truth is convinced of his awkward position of material association. He knows that he is a part and parcel of Supreme Lord, Krishna, and that his position should not be in material creation. He knows his real identity as a part and parcel of Supreme, who is eternal bliss knowledge, and he realizes that somehow or the other he is entrapped in material conception of life. In his pure state of existence, he is meant to dovetail all his activities in devotional service to the Supreme Lord. He therefore engages himself with the activities of Krishna consciousness, become naturally unattached to the activities of material senses, which are all circumstantial and temporary. He knows that his material condition of life is under the supreme control of Lord. Consequently, he is not disturbed by all kinds of material reactions, which he considers to be mercy of the Lord. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, one who knows the absolute truth in three different features, namely Paramatma, Bhagavan, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan, that is Supreme Personal Godhead, is called Tattvavit. He knows also that his factual position in relationship with the Supreme. So the thing that is explained here is that this body is given by Krishna, so let's use it in Krishna's purpose. When we use it in Krishna's purpose, we will be satisfied. And how will we be satisfied? Because let's say what all our body needs: eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Right? When we use eating in Krishna's purpose, we are basically purifying that activity. So this is eating, sleeping, mating, depending. These are like four activities our body does, right? These are four activities our body does. Does it make sense? These four activities?
Yes.
Yeah. So now we can use this for our own purpose or Krishna's purpose, right?
Hmm.
So this is what the concept we need to understand. That when we do it for our own sense gratification, what is our eating? It is anything, eating
Hmm.
anything that we want, vegetarian food, non-vegetarian food, etc., etc. Okay, for vegetarian food we kill plants. For non-vegetarian food we kill animals. So the reaction is there. But when we use it for Krishna's purpose, what do we eat? We eat prasad.
Prasad.
And prasad is sanctified food.
Hmm.
Sanctified food means it doesn't have it has no sin in it. So all the killing sin is gone. Why? Because we offered it. And second thing, it is a vegetarian food. Meat eating is not allowed. Now sleeping. How do we use it for Krishna's purpose? Sleeping. We sleep. How much is required? Minimum is
Hmm.
6. Maximum is like 8 hours. And our purpose of sleeping is what? To become refreshed in
Refresh.
morning, for material and spiritual duties. that I can do all my duties, right?
Yes.
Yeah, generally we do sleeping for that only.
Hmm.
But those who don't have spiritual duties, I mean, right now they are not doing any spirituality. They are just sleeping for material duties. Tomorrow I have to go for work. But for a devotee, when he gets up in the morning, he has to do his puja, part, and japa, reading, all that. So he's sleeping to do better the next day. Okay. Now mating. How does mating can be used in Krishna service? Any thoughts?
Hmm. Wo-
Interestingly enough,
Hmm.
today mating, sexual
Hmm.
intercourse is only used for sense gratification. I want to enjoy the other person. The man wants to enjoy the woman wants to enjoy the man. So that's why they come together and they have sexual intercourse.
Hmm.
But in when we have to use it in Krishna's service, the Vedas they give us how to use this mating propensity, which is there in our body. The mating propensity is there. In animal body is there, plant body is there, and in human body is also there. But then how to use it so that our mating is not on the level of animals. Animals mate out of on the road and all that, and we may mate in the room and all that. But how come to be not on the animal level? So the Vedas they talk about Garbha Dan Samskar. Have you heard this word? Garbha Dan Samskar?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is this Garbha Dana Sanskar? It means that the woman she has Garbha in it, and the man has to do dana of his semen into that Garbha. And when it is a samskar, it means it has to be done in right attitude and consciousness. Now, this is what is making difference. See, when materialistic, when they do mating, their attitude and consciousness is what? It is all about enjoying. Sometimes, they are drunken state, right?
Hmm.
But
Yes.
those who are on spiritual platform, they are married, they have to do this Garbhadan Sanskar. Then what is the attitude and consciousness? What is that attitude? That attitude is that they are remembering Krishna. Okay, they are remembering Krishna. First thing, they are doing it as a duty, not as like enjoyment. Oh, I should get some enjoyment. They're doing it as a duty.
Yes.
Then, so this Garbhadan Sanskar means there are steps to it where one remembers Krishna, chants his holy name, and then eats the right food, clean food, and they take the blessings of the Supreme Lord Krishna, and their consciousness is um, devotional consciousness. Devotional means spiritual consciousness, means a consciousness where they are inviting the soul in their bodies as their child to serve back in Krishna's service. That is the consciousness. So this is called Garbhadan Samskar. It's
Okay.
like it is in short, if I say, then it's like requesting Krishna to send a soul who who will be favorable to spirituality and serve in Krishna's service. See, that is the goal. Requesting Krishna to send a soul as child. So here the consciousness is I want a child, and therefore I am mating. Whereas materialistic would mate for reasons I just want to enjoy, right? So then that's a difference. See, eating also one can eat gulab jamun, but when they eat a gulab jamun prasadam, they will taste the same to the sweetness. Similarly, the enjoyment of sleeping is the enjoyment of mating is there, but it is done with a consciousness for Krishna's service. Okay, and defending is what? Defending is, it has multiple levels of understanding. Defending means in Krishna service means defending one's dharma, defending, protecting body to use it in Krishna service. Um, so that is the meaning of defending. So this is how we use it in Krishna service. Now, I'll tell you a story of, you must have heard this name, Hiranyakashipu. Have you heard this name, Hiranyakashipu? He was father of Prahlad. Now, Hiranyakashipu was a very demoniac person, very bad person. But Prahlad, he was completely opposite. He was a sage or saint, 5 year old. But he was like a sage and saint. Now, how come Hiranyakashipu got such a good son like Prahlad? Do you know? Have you heard the story of Hiranyakashipu, Prahlad, and Narsimha?
Prahlad's mother
Hmm.
is very good.
Prahlad's brothers,
And
yeah, Kayadu, I think her name was Kayadu. Yeah, so
she's a devotee of
she's a
Narayan.
devotee. Okay. So I'll tell you what happened is Hiranyakashipu, he performed a great, tapasya. And one day he came back from that tapasya. And he was thinking that, his brother was killed by Vishnu. So he was very angry over Vishnu. So in his whole tapasya, he was thinking, how can I defeat Vishnu, Krishna, Krishna? And, that time he was saying Narayan, Narayan, Narayan. And then he came to his wife, and then it was night time, and he's a demonic person. He wanted to enjoy. So while mating with his wife, he kept saying Narayan, Narayan, Narayan. And therefore, he got a devotee child because he was remembering Krishna at that point. So even though he was such a demonic person, but while the act of mating, he was actually doing Garbhadan Sanskar. And he didn't knew that. He thought, I am enjoying. But in that very act, he was kept saying Narayan, Narayan, Narayan. To such an extent that Krishna said he wants a son who is a devotee, so he will have Prahlad. And that's how Prahlad was born to a demoniac father. So this is the power of Garbhadan Sanskar. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how it is. So therefore, so therefore we have to be careful of what, sometimes we get children and they have a tendency. So what happens is, generally what happens is, a soul which comes as a child is having a combination of father and mother's consciousness. Okay, they have a combination of father and mother's consciousness. Why? Because at the time of meeting, whatever that consciousness was, that consciousness came into the side. So one has to be very careful. All the activities, like, while eating, we are only eating prasadam. Similarly, was meeting also. There is Garbhadan Sanskar. So this is how, Vedic culture would uh, protect us. And today, because Garbhadan Sanskar is so much neglected, the children that are born, right, they don't have that quality in them of being spiritual, of, being moral, ethical. And sometimes some are really bad kids. And sometimes the reason is this Garbhadan Sanskar. Too much enjoyment parents want to do, and then gone. Comes out a child who is like enemy. So yeah, so this is one of the reasons. So I just spent some time over there because what we were discussing is, yeah, how these activities we can dovetail to Krishna. We were discussing that. So eating, sleeping, mating, defending. These are the like basic activities we do, and this is how we need to dovetail towards Krishna. Okay. 3.29. Prakirte guna sammudha sajjante guna karmashu Tank akritsna vidomanda, Krishna vinna vichalete, vichalete. Bewildered by the three modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engages themselves in material activities and becomes attached. But the wise should not unsettle them, although these duties are inferior to the performer's lack of knowledge. A very interesting verse this is. We'll get into the details and discuss. Persons who are unknowledgeable falsely identify with grossly material consciousness and are full of material designations. I am this person, I am American, Indian, Pakistani, whatever. This body is actually a gift of material nature, and one who is too attached to the bodily consciousness is called manda, or lazy person without understanding the spirit soul. So one who doesn't understand I am not the body but I am the soul is actually a lazy person, manda. Lazy means what? We'll get into that detail. Lazy means literally lazy, and sometimes if too activeness is also a laziness. Why? Why to think that too much activeness is also laziness? How come that becomes laziness? Any thoughts? Hmm? How comes too much activity is also laziness? See, any activity that we perform, it has to have some purpose to it, right? So if the purpose itself is wrong, then how much even one may be too much active in it, it is still of useless nature, right? Laziness means you're kind of, that person is kind of useless in that. So sometimes we see children, they're too much active. But what are they doing? They're playing with mud, too much active. But it's just because they're child, they will do that. That's there. But it's of no use because the result is not of any use. So that's why it is called laziness. Now you understand?
Okay.
So yeah, so this is how Vedic words are very tricky to understand. So they have to be understood under the guidance of a guru. Then they can. Otherwise, normal person will think, how come everybody's lazy and all that? How does Vedas say like that? No, means little different. Yeah. So ignorant men think of body as self and they accept bodily connections with others as kinshipmen. The land in which the body is obtained is their object of worship. And they consider formalities of religious rituals to be end in themselves. They think that this is my land. Religious activities are just to be performed so that I get something out of it. That's it. Nothing more than that. But actually, it is meant to please Krishna. Social work, nationalism, altruism, some of the activities for such materially designated people. So for such people, some social work is required. Why? Because in social work, what they do is they sacrifice, meaning they have worked hard to get something. The out of social work, they will take out some money out of it and give to a poor person without expecting any return from it. That is social work, right? Nationalism is where patriotism is there, and then one may sacrifice himself for the good of the country. Okay, and altruism is also like that. So one would detach from being enjoying, just unrestricted enjoying, and for some time one is acting selflessly. So that is better for these material designated people. Under the spell of such designation, they are always busy in material field, and for them, spiritual realization is a myth, and they are not interested. Those who are entitled in spiritual life, enlightened in spiritual life, however, should not try to agitate such materially engrossed people. Better to prosecute one's own spiritual activities silently. Such bewildered people may engage in such primary moral principles of life as non-violence or similarly material benevolent work. Men who are ignorant cannot appreciate activities in Krishna consciousness. So people cannot understand, why we are taking to spirituality and all that. They're thinking, what do you get there? You know, we were previously eating non-vegetarian food. Today, you are eating only vegetarian food. What are you doing? They won't appreciate these activities. But we know behind the scene how things work. And therefore, Lord Krishna exercises not to disturb them. We should not disturb them and simply waste our valuable time. But devotees of the Lord are more kind and than the Lord, and they understand the purpose of the Lord. Consequently, they undertake all kinds of risk, even to the point of approaching ignorant men to try to engage them in the acts of Krishna consciousness, which are absolutely necessary for a human being. But devotees will take that risk. They will still go and spread Krishna consciousness. They will tell them, chant the holy name, practice spirituality. Hmm? So ignorant people, we should generally not disturb them. But we can disturb them to the extent that they don't become violent, right? Sometimes, you can direct a small child to do certain things. But the moment the child becomes violent, right, you stop. This is a natural thing we do, right? As parents, if our son or daughter is like, we can lovingly, do make them do that activity. But sometimes they become violent. No, and they will throw things here and then. Then we'll suddenly stop and say, okay, 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 nothing, nothing. So like that. So to the point that they become violent, we can, talk to them of spirituality and all that. But the moment they become violent, no, okay, I'm not going to tell anything more. Like that. 30th verse. Mai sarvani karmani sannyasa adhyatma chetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yuddhasva vigata jvara. So this is a very important verse. This is the way Krishna wants Arjuna to perform his duty in the battlefield. The Bhagavad Gita started with Arjuna's question. I know I have to perform my duty, I have to fight, but I don't want to fight. And Krishna is saying you have to fight with the right attitude. And what is the right attitude? It is this verse which summarizes. Therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your works onto me with full knowledge of me, without desire for profit, with no claims to proprietorship and free from lethargy, fight. Now there are two words here: surrendering all your works onto me and with full knowledge of me. Full knowledge of Krishna and offering everything to Krishna, Mai. These things Krishna has not explained till now. And these are the topics for the next chapters. But Krishna summarizes here. And what he has explained is these three things. Without desire for profit. Don't think of profit. Every time you want to do this work, only think of profit. No, don't become like that. So you have to do things out of duty. No claims to proprietorship. Don't think this whole world belongs to you. You have just come here when the whole world already was there, and you will go away from this. So don't be so much holding on. This is mine. This is mine. Free from lethargy. Don't be lazy to perform your duty, even if it is difficult. So do it. Okay, and even if you fail in doing that, it is okay. Rather than just giving up, you do your duty. So free from lethargy, fight. So this is the consciousness, out of which the first two things, right? Surrender all your works onto me and knowledge of me. This is a topic of next chapters actually. Krishna starts with this, but in the fourth chapter, he will give little bit of knowledge about himself. But he summarizes here. Okay. This verse clearly indicates the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, the Lord instructs that one has to become fully Krishna conscious to discharge his duties, as if in military discipline. Military discipline is what? There's a very famous poem, no? Uh, there is no option to say no. There is only do or die. Something like that. There's a very nice poem. I don't remember now those words, but it goes in this line. You cannot question. There's only do or die. Right? So the military discipline is like that. Such an injunction may make things a little difficult. Nevertheless, duties must be carried out with dependence on Krishna. So when we carry out some duty, and if it is difficult, we should depend on Krishna within our heart, because that is the constitutional position of the living entity. The living entity cannot be happy independent of the cooperation of the Supreme Lord. The living entity should understand. We should understand that we need the help of Supreme Lord to do our activity, right? But we sometimes forget. We think, oh, I did it. I did it. No. When we are sick, you take any sports person, like Mahendra Singh Dhoni or Sachin Tendulkar, or Virat Kohli. When they are sick with fever, okay, with simple fever, can they perform to the best of their level? No, right? Simple fever is there, but they cannot perform that. So are we independently doing things? No, right? We need cooperation of the Supreme Lord. We need a very healthy body to perform that activity. And that healthy bodiness, that certain healthy situations, these are provided by the Supreme Lord. So therefore, we have to acknowledge. Because the eternal constitution of the position of the living entity is to become subordinate to the desires of the Lord, Arjuna was therefore ordered by Sri Krishna to fight as if the Lord was his military commander. One has to sacrifice everything for the goodwill of the Lord and at the same time discharge prescribed duties without claiming proprietorship. Without saying, I did it. No. Arjuna did not have to consider the order of the Lord, he only had to execute the order. You have to just execute the order. The Supreme Lord is the soul of all souls, therefore, one who depends solely and wholly on the Supreme Lord without personal consideration. In other words, one who is fully Krishna conscious is called Adhyatma Chetasa. Nirashir means one has to act on the order of the master but should not expect fruitive results. The cashier may count millions of dollars for his employees. Or the bank cashier is there. Every day, lakhs of rupees go under his arm. Can he keep something for him? 1 rupee, 50 paise? No, right? But he does not claim a cent for himself. Otherwise, he'll become criminal. Similarly, one has to realize that nothing in this world belongs to any individual person, but that everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. That is the real purport of me or unto me. When one acts in such a Krishna consciousness, certainly he does not claim proprietorship over anything. This consciousness is called nirmama. Nothing is mine. And if there is any reluctance to execute such a turn order, which is without consideration of so-called kinsmen in the bodily relationship, that reluctance should be given away. So Arjuna's laziness was what? Oh, these are my family members. How can I kill them? And Arjuna and Krishna's answer is a policeman, when he sees that a crime is done by his own brother, he will still go and stop it. He won't think that, oh, my brother is involved. No, okay, fine. Fine. Some crime by my mother is allowed, by my brother is allowed. No. So that time one should not be lazy. So that is another meaning of laziness. Laziness means where you have to perform your duty and you are saying no to it. You are refusing it. That is also laziness. So this is the laziness of Arjuna. Such a strong man, but he had this one lazy quality. At that point of war, it came out. Oh, these are my family members. How can I do this and all that? It's a difficult thing, but yeah, right? When a family member is involved, right? It's a difficult thing. But duty means duty. It's like that. Therefore military discipline. Everyone, according to his quality and position, has a particular type of work to discharge, and all such duties may be discharged in Krishna consciousness, as described above. This will lead one to the path of liberation. So when we tell everything in Krishna service, right? What is the result of it? It will go to the path of liberation. Liberation means mukti, means moksha, means self-realization, means ending the cycle of birth and death, getting free from material consciousness, material entanglement. And that is what is the goal of spirituality. How to come out of it. Why? Because we are not the body, we are spiritual. Now we are caged in this body. And the whole spiritual process is to come out of that cage. We don't want any more bodies. Enough of it. I want complete mukti. Mukti means getting free from this cage, which is body. Do you like your cage? Anyone? Do you like your body? You liked it when it was young, right? But when you become old, do you like it? When it becomes disease, do you like it?
No.
Yeah. So Krishna is saying you will come to a stage of complete spiritual perfection where you won't have this body, you will only have spiritual body, and that's the state we have to achieve. That's the mukti that we have to achieve. Okay. Now those persons, Krishna he says, ye me matam idam nityam anustishtanti manava shraddhavan yanto nasuyanto muchyante tepi karmavi. Those persons who execute their duties according to my injunctions, who follow this teaching faithfully without envy, without free from bondage of fruitive reactions. Okay, they become free from this entanglement. if they follow my instructions. Like parent telling to a child, if you listen to me, you won't have this difficulty. You will pass nicely in the exam, right? Every parent tells this to a child. Every teacher tells this. You listen to me, then you will pass in the exam. You will go from second standard to third standard, right? And then sincere students they listen. So this is what Krishna is saying. You listen to me. Okay. We'll finish this purport. The injunction of the Supreme Personal Godhead is the essence of all Vedic wisdom. Now, why we need to listen to Krishna? Because he's the Supreme Lord. And Bhagavad Gita is learned by so many and they perfected their lives after hearing it. Therefore, we are also hearing it. As the Vedas are eternal, so the truth of Krishna consciousness is also eternal. See, Bhagavad Gita is the only book which is relevant even after 5,000 years. It was spoken when? 5,000 years back at the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And it is still relevant. 5,000 years ago, or let's say, 10 years back, people were using that small mobile. Is it relevant? Irrelevant today? Are those telephones still relevant? Where one would dial numbers. Do we do that now? No, right? We don't use those
No.
mobiles. We don't use those mobiles, right?
Yes.
So things are not relevant after 10 years, 5 years, 100 years. But Bhagavad Gita is such a thing that is still relevant even after 5,000 years. Now let's say 100 years down the line, will Bhagavad Gita still be relevant? With all the technology advancement and everything that is happening, will it still be relevant? What is your thought? What is your thought? Will it still be relevant? Will it still be useful, meaningful after 100 years? Yes, no, maybe. Hmm?
Can
It
you
will
repeat
be.
again?
No, I said after
Hmm.
100 years, will this Bhagavad Gita be relevant,
Yeah.
useful, meaningful?
Yes, yes, it is. Because
Yeah, it will
but
still be there. See, with whatever advancement has there taken place, still there is death, still there is
hmm,
suffering, still there is
yes.
old age and disease.
Hmm.
If you see so many, YouTube videos where, women, they are having makeup and that makeup changes their face like, unimaginable thing, right?
Yeah,
But this is what is modern advancement. It is only like a makeup. It is not going to really make a person beautiful. Now, I'll tell you, we all have grandmothers, right? They
hmm,
may passed away or whatever. When they were old, we still like them, right?
yes.
But they didn't look beautiful, which is a fact.
Hmm.
But in our eyes, they looked very beautiful. Their shriveled skin and all that. We still look at them beautiful. Why? Why do you think
We like the nature.
we like the nature?
Yeah.
We like their loving nature, right?
Yes.
That love was unconditional.
Uh,
Okay, so Krishna is telling that more important than external is the internal. The internal character is more important. That is very attractive. This is also a lesson from Bhagavad Gita, that we should not be so much focused on our external body. We should be focused on our internal character, and that should be our real body, real beauty. See, real beauty is when Um, see, we think our police are sometimes very corrupt and all that, but about a decade back when there was attack of in Mumbai, and there was this middle-aged uh, policeman, Havaldar Tukaram Omle. He got hold of Kasab, the terrorist, and Kasab put like 40 bullets in his body. Now, if you look at the face of Tukaram Omle, He doesn't look like any Bollywood star or any Bollywood actor or something, you know. But his beauty was what? That he performed his duty and he gave that sacrifice, right? So
Yeah.
that becomes his beauty now. So Krishna is saying Arjuna same thing. Don't become so attached. Perform your duty, and that will be your beauty. So it's very interesting that Krishna's injunctions, they were valid even that time, today, and it will always be. Okay. There are many philosophers who wrote commentary on Bhagavad Gita but have no faith in Krishna. They will never be liberated from the bondage of fruitive actions. But an ordinary man with firm faith in eternal injunctions of the Lord, even though unable to execute such orders, becomes liberated from the bondage of law of karma. Hmm. So simple person who can put faith in Krishna and Bhagavad Gita can can achieve success. In the beginning of Krishna consciousness, one may not fully discharge the injunction of the Lord. See, when we are starting our spiritual life, right, it will be a little difficult. Slowly we'll do things. But over a period of time, we will be able to do it. But because one is not resentful of this principle and works sincerely without consideration of defeat and hopelessness, he will surely be promoted to the stage of pure Krishna consciousness. Okay. So 1 hour is done. Um, we will stop here. Any questions or comments? Any questions?
No, no, it was very nice session actually today. Lot of important things been taught.
Okay. Thank you. And this is what Srila Prabhupada has given. So I'm just acting like a peon or a postman, who's delivering your what is that, money order. This is your money order, third chapter, 26 verse to 31st verse. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
thank you very much. If there are no questions, then